Wall Street corrects, the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones slips off record highs as tech stock leads the correction on Wall Street. Asian markets open largely lower, while the gift Nifty is also suggesting a lower start for the Indian markets. Crude continues to fall. Brent slips below the $75 a barrel as reports suggest that Israel will not strike Iran's oil or nuclear facilities, relieving fears of major supply disruption. In key earnings to track, Bajaj Auto is expected to deliver a strong set of second quarter numbers supported by volume growth and better realization. Also watch for numbers of Emphasis and L&T Technologies. Telco chiefs call for an auction to allocate spectrum to satellite companies. Telecom Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia rules out an auction, says spectrum will be allocated to satellite communication companies at a price determined by the regulator. Election Commission announces assembly election dates for Maharashtra and Jharkhand. All 288 Maharashtra seats will vote in a single phase on the 20th of November. Jharkhand will see two phases voting on 13th and 20th of November. Results for both assembly elections will be announced on the 23rd of November. Hello, good morning. I'm in the Mumbai News Center. I'm Vinny Motiwala. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Let's take a look at how the Asian markets are looking this morning. Not such a pretty picture that we're watching out for, because Wall Street also had seen a bit of a subduedness. Seems like that's creeping on to the Asian markets. Taiwan index as of now is down 1.3%. Also, we have the Hang Seng that's trading a slight bit positive, opened up with a gain of around 4/10 to 0.5% is what we're watching out for. But other than that, look at Nikkei, the Japanese index. That's seeing a sharper fall coming in. That's leading the losses in the Asian markets. Other than that, we also have ASX 200, which is down. Korea's Kospi, that is a bit under pressure as well. We're watching out for data points that will come in terms for China stimulus. The government will be meeting, the ministers will be meeting tomorrow, and there's going to be some discussion for stimulus for the real estate sector in China. So, the Q's and I's of investors are going to be on that front. So keep an eye out on that. But as of now, not much of an excitement in the Asian markets. Let's pull up what the gift Nifty is doing as well, because it's indicating a decline that we're watching out for the Indian markets. 86% decline is what the Nifty implied open is indicating for the Indian markets. So keep an eye out on that. Not that much of an excitement. And like I was mentioning, Asian markets have opened up red. Why? Because the US markets, when you're looking at it, Wall Street, that ended Tuesday's trading session quite lower, taking a breather from the ongoing rally that we've seen. Dow Jones actually closed more than 320 points lower, while the S&P 500 also shed nearly 45 points at the close. The tech-heavy Nasdaq index, that also closed 1% in the red. And CNBC's Kate Rooney is getting us a wrap on what all happened in the US markets.
Markets were down across the major indexes Tuesday, unable to keep the Monday rally going, when the Dow and S&P saw all-time highs. The Dow was down 325, the S&P 500 lost 45, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq dropped by 187. Boeing, meanwhile, announced today it could raise as much as $25 billion to combat increasing losses. The announcement comes as the plane manufacturer faces a factory workers' strike that's now entering its second month. Boeing said in a statement, the move provides flexibility for the company to seek a variety of capital options to support its balance sheet over the next 3 years. The plane manufacturer is trying to shore up its finances as it faces warnings from credit rating agencies that it could lose its investment-grade rating. And Walgreens is planning to shutter around 1,200 stores over the next 3 years. Of those closures, 500 will be in fiscal 2025 alone. During an earnings call this morning, CEO Tim Wentworth said the closings will help give Walgreens a, quote, healthier store base and better respond to consumers' buying preferences.
Thanks so much for that. But staying with the Wall Street, let's listen into the Chief Economic Advisor of Allianz, Mohammad El-Arian, who talks about the outlook of the likelihood of a soft landing for the U.S. economy. Listen in.
My probability of a soft landing is 55% and a recession 30%. So soft landing is the most likely, but it's not a dominant scenario. Why isn't it dominant? Because we have weakness in the household sector and the lower income side. And the Fed has been all over the place. The Fed's got to be careful not to increase the probability of something going wrong. But soft landing is the most likely. The economy is strong, corporate earnings are strong, and on top of that, we have well-behaved oil prices, and we have the hope that China may stimulate the economy.
Okay, that's what happened in the global market. But how is all that going to be impacting our Indian markets? How is Nifty expected to open up as well? Let's get you prepped up for the day in our Power Pep segment. And first up, let's go to Hormaz, because who's going to be telling us what are the important cues that we are keeping an eye out on this morning. Hormaz, good morning. Are we expecting a pretty picture or maybe midweek blues for the Indian markets?
Morning, Vinny, and not such a pretty picture as of now. When we spoke about this yesterday as well, right? It's a case of a one step forward, two step back sort of a scenario for the Nifty as well. One good session, you don't see follow-up buying. That's exactly what happened yesterday as well. It's still struggling to cross that 25,250 mark. So it is stuck in a range. But the one to watch out for, the index to watch out for, is the Nifty Bank. And that is because it closed above 51,900 yesterday. Remember that 51,800, 900 is a very key resistance zone. It closed above 51,900 yesterday, the first time since the 1st of October, and now that makes 52,000 on the upside a very crucial level to watch. And if that happens, it can open further upside for the Nifty Bank, and that can cushion any potential downsides on the Nifty. Broader markets did well yesterday. The small cap was the outperformer, but the Nifty struggled yesterday despite a fairly strong handover from Wall Street. But that handover is now weak because of the session that you had in the US markets yesterday. The only positive is the fall in oil prices, because even the Asian markets have opened lower. So no relief coming in from any form of global markets for the index as of now. Earnings reactions continue as they are, because there's going to be plenty of stock-specific activity. You'll watch out for HDFC Life because of the strong management commentary. KEI, Alok, both will react to results. Bajaj Auto reports results today among the Nifty constituents, as do some mid-cap IT names like Mphasis and L&T Tech. The key question here is, as I just mentioned, if there is a potential breakout in the Nifty Bank, does that cushion the downside on the Nifty, or it takes it higher as well? And has Bajaj Auto, considering the run-up it has seen, priced in an already good result? The stock was down yesterday as well. Keep an eye out on that. And oil sensitives, will they continue to move in today's session as well? For now, the GIFT Nifty is indicating a fairly negative start for our own markets.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Hormaz. But let's move on and go to Vamakshi, who's here to tell us which are the stocks that we should be keeping on our radar today. Good morning, Vamakshi.
Well, good morning, Vinny. Let me first start off with KEI Industries. The company reported its Q2 numbers. Revenue saw an uptick of 17.2% on a YOY basis. The margins are seeing a bit of a contraction from 10.4% to 9.7%. Additionally, the company has announced plans to raise up to 2,000 crores via QIP. The next stock on our radar is HDFC Life. The company reported its numbers yesterday during market hours, and there was a conference call that was scheduled post market hours. In that, the company said that they've revised the growth outlook to 18 to 20% as compared to 15% earlier. However, they are sticking to their VNB growth guidance of 17 to 18% for FY25. Cochin Shipyard, the government is looking to sell 5% stake in the company via OFS. The floor price has been determined at 1,540 per share. This OFS includes base offer of 2.5% with a green shoe option of nearly 2.5%. PNC Infra has received orders worth 4,630 crores for two projects from Maharashtra State Road Development Corporation. GR Infra also in focus on the back of an order win. They've received an LOA worth 1,885 crores from Maharashtra State Road Development Corporation. Central Bank of India also on our radar. CCI has given its nod to acquisition of 24.91% stake in Future Generali India Insurance and 25.18% stake in Future Generali India Life Insurance. ONGC has bought additional 2.88% stake in ONGC Petro Addition Limited for 5,594 crores. Now this takes its total shareholding in the company to 94.04%. Lastly, keep an eye out on Bhagiriya Industries. Maharashtra State Electricity Distribution Company will be purchasing power generated from company's solar power plant, which has a capacity of 30 megawatts for nearly 25 years.
Okay, Vamakshi, thank you so much for that. But finally, we have Sudarshan joining in with us to tell us the important cues in the world of F&O. Good morning, Sudarshan.
Good morning, Vinny. So first talking about the market on Tuesday, in a tight range of trade, we saw market closing with minor changes. Sensex and Nifty closed with minor cuts, while broader markets have relatively outperformed. For today, following weak global cues, we might have a start in the red as GIFT Nifty is currently down almost 100 points. Talking about institutional flows, we continue to see selling by FIs. Yesterday, we saw FIs selling shares of more than rupees 1,700 crore, and in October so far, FIs have sold shares for 12 consecutive sessions, and it's the longest selling streak in the last 1 year. In October so far, FIs sold shares of almost 64,000 crore. In the index futures as well, net sell figure is more than rupees 400 crore, and they have cut long positions by 4,600 contracts. At the same time, they have added short contracts of almost 3,000. And with this, long exposure has now reduced and it has come below 35%. While on the client side, we continue to see addition of long contracts. We saw addition of almost 2 lakh contracts, and with this, long exposure on the client side has increased to 62%. On the option front, in the call side, 25,200 call has seen addition of more than 42 lakh shares with premium at 36, and 25,100 call has seen addition of almost 31 lakh shares with premium at 67. On the put side, 25,000 put has shed 7 lakh shares with premium at 76, and 24,900 put has shed almost 6 lakh shares with premium at almost 43. And with this, important levels for Nifty, support is in somewhere around 24,900, and resistance at yesterday's high, that is 25,200. Lastly, in stocks in focus, there are 14 stocks in the band, and new entrants are Bandhan Bank and L&T Fin.
Thank you so much for that, Sudarshan. But on that note, we're going to slip into a very short break, and don't go anywhere. After the break, we'll get you the latest as Telecom Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia rules out auctions for allocation of satellite spectrum. Welcome back. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Let's move on as Bharti Airtel's founder Sunil Mittal called for satellite communication companies to buy spectrum at an auction. Telecom Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia rules out an auction, stating that the spectrum will be allocated to Satcom players at a price that will be determined by the regulator. Ashmit Kumar is joining in with us to give us more details on the Telecom Minister's response to this. Listen in.
Well, important clarifications coming in from the Telecom Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia speaking here at the IMC 2024. Number one, there have been divergent views on whether or not spectrum for satellite communications is to be allocated or is to be auctioned. That question was answered by the Telecom Minister speaking here. He clarified that the Telecom Act is very clear that can only and only be allocation, administrative allocation of spectrum for satellite communication. No auction is possible under the Telecom Act, going on to say that it is subject to, however, a cost of allocation. That cost, that price of spectrum is to be determined by the TRAI, the Telecom Watchdog. It is open for the Telecom Watchdog to decide on that question. But going on to clarify that globally the precedent is clear. There is no auction of spectrum for satellite communication. It is only allocation. Number two, on the issue of support for data centers. Bear in mind that Akash Ambani, speaking at the inaugural session, had advocated for support, an incentive mechanism for data centers in India. Jyotiraditya Scindia said that PLI is a great example of what the state support can do, especially in the field of manufacturing. Also going on to say that this is an issue that the government is looking to move swiftly on, but saying that this is a question that MeitY will take a final call on. And finally, on the issue of tariff hike, Jyotiraditya Scindia speaking in support of the telecom company, saying that the tariffs are already extremely low, that the hikes have come on an extremely low base, and that if the telecom companies are not able to get a return on their investment, the transition from 4G to 5G and then to 6G will be challenging.
For Satcom, spectrum will be allocated administratively. Now, that does not mean that spectrum does not come without a cost. What that cost is and what the formula of that costing is going to be will not be decided by you or me. It will be decided by TRAI. And there is a paper that has already been circulated by TRAI And we have a regulatory authority for telecom, and that regulatory authority of telecom has been empowered by the Constitution to decide what that administrative pricing is going to be.
Okay, let's move on. And the Election Commission has sounded the poll bugle for Maharashtra and Jharkhand Assembly elections. All 288 seats in Maharashtra will vote in a single phase on the 20th of November. Two alliances, the Maha Vikas Aghadi and the Mahayuti dominate the Maharashtra political landscape. The ruling Mahayuti comprises the BJP's Eknath Shinde, Shiv Sena and the Ajit Pawar's NCP. The BJP and the undivided Shiv Sena had fought the 2019 elections in an alliance, and Jharkhand will see two phases of voting on the 13th and the 20th of November. The JMM Congress, RJD alliance and the NDA will battle it out for 81 state assembly seats, and the BJP is busy chalking out a seat-sharing agreement with the allies in Jharkhand. So that's the update that we have on the assembly elections that will be happening, keeping an eye out on the states. But let's move on. And Samsung workers at the Chennai plant have called off the strike after 5 weeks of protesting. This after the company and the labor union agreed to 4 major resolutions. The agreement requires the workers to immediately call off the strike and return to work, and the management will not victimize any of the workers on the resumption of work. And the company has also promised to respond in writing to the workers' charter of the demands that they do have. So that's all the update that we have on the Samsung strike being called off. But on that note, we're going to slip into a very short break, and after the break, we'll talk about what's happening in the world of commodities. So stay tuned in. Welcome back. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. And like promised, let's bring on board Manisha Gupta to tell us what's happening in the world of commodities. Because crude surely has been that exciting one, 4% decline in terms of Brent crude oil prices, Manisha, overnight.
Oh, well, absolutely. You know, Monday was a 2% decline and yesterday was a 4% decline. So in this week itself, which is just 2 days old, we have seen $5 of a decline for the crude oil prices right now. Well, it has to do with the weak global demand outlook. And then OPEC and IEA both have cut forecasts for global demand, not just for this year, but for 2025 as well. And then Israel repeatedly saying that they will not strike Iran's nuclear and oil facilities also seems to have taken the war premium off the prices. So pressure has continued for a third day today as well, where we are looking at on the lower side of prices. But some strength is what you have seen come back in case of precious metals. Gold prices right now are just $15 away from its all-time highs. The U.S. Treasuries have seen a decline. The U.S. dollar index also has seen a bit of a weakness, and that has been supportive. And the traders now are placing a 90% probability of a 25 basis point rate cut for the month of November. So that has been factored in as well. Well, remember, the gold prices have gained up by 29% in this year alone. And now going forward, it's going to be the U.S. retail sales, industrial production, jobless claims. All of that data comes in this week, which the markets will take cues from.
Okay, Manisha, thank you so much for that. Keeping an eye out on the commodities and all the important cues also for the world of commodities. But a spat of bomb hoaxes have hit Indian Airlines just a day after 3 bomb hoaxes at least 5 flights were targeted with fake bomb threats yesterday. Air India's Delhi to Chicago flight was forced to divert to Canada following a bomb threat. Air India said it is extending all cooperation to authorities in identifying the perpetrators and will consider legal action against those responsible for the possible passengers of Indigo's Dammam as well as Lucknow flight also faced inconvenience after their flight was diverted to Jaipur. Meanwhile, a SpiceJet flight travelling from Darbhanga to Mumbai was also among the flights, and Air India Express flight from Jaipur to Ayodhya and Akasa Air's flight from Bagdogra to Bangalore was also one of the flights that received bomb hoaxes. The Ministry of Civil Aviation has called for a high-level meeting today to deal with the host of hoaxes and bomb threats, and the meet will also include Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu and other senior personnel. So that's on the updates on the world of aviation. But let's get you some weather updates. Heavy rains lashed Chennai and 6 adjoining districts, prompting a red alert from the IMD. Schools and colleges are shut, and roads and rail services have also been thrown off gear. The Tamil Nadu government said that the disaster response teams are on a standby in Chennai and nearby districts. Karnataka government issued a work from home advisory after heavy rains lashed through Bangalore, and several roads and tech parks face heavy waterlogging, forcing schools and colleges to be shut. IMD issued an orange alert for the city and commented that rainfall is likely to remain for next 3 days. Okay, with that, we are absolutely out of time on this edition of Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Thanks so much for tuning in.